Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the CNC with Dave Gatton show. I think we've got a pretty good show for you tonight. That is, if you're not tired of hearing about laser stuff. But I keep getting questions about the posts and all that. So I spent probably a couple hours this afternoon in a very hot shop putting together a little show and tell show with some samples for you of the different post processors and that kind of thing. So I'll be showing those here in a little bit. Tonight's show is brought to you by GarageWorks CNC, makers of DIY kits for the CNC enthusiast. You can get yours at www.garageworks.com. Yeah, thought I'd represent the orange tonight. I usually wear in the other, but most of this stuff I'm going to talk about tonight too. I mean, there's a lot of things we talk about that's kind of general stuff that would apply to pretty much any CNC, but most of this stuff I'm going to be talking about tonight is pretty much directed at either a Gatton CNC or a GarageWorks CNC because most of you know that even though they're very different machines, they're still basically set up the same way, same lead screws, same steps per unit, all that kind of stuff. So we'll be talking mostly about that. How many of y'all, I see we got a pretty good crowd over there already. How many of y'all out there in the chat saw the video I put out a couple of days ago cutting aluminum with the Gatton CNC? How many people saw that? The part came out really good. It had a couple of little things, nothing major. Mostly it was my fault for trying to do it too fast. But this thing come out really good. 1/4 inch aluminum, 6061, used a 1/8 bit up spiral, and it wasn't even a really good one. It's one I'd stopped using to cut wood because I thought it was getting dull, and I'd already swapped it out and just kind of threw it in the drawer. And then when I got ready to try this aluminum, I thought, well, let me try that thing. I'll see if it'll do it. And actually did a pretty good job. So I cut it about. I was running a spindle, of course, about a little under 19,000 RPM, 1/8 inch of spiral bit, taking about 20 thou pass, and the feed rate when I wasn't going too fast, which is where it messed up a couple times, but I was able to back it off and save it. Was right around 35, 40 inches a minute for most of it. So, yeah, that should, I mean, I've never had any doubt, but it should answer any of the folks that had any doubt about whether it will cut aluminum or aluminium if you live across the pond somewhere. And one of my next videos coming up, I'm going to try to get one shot in the next few days. I'm going to go ahead and give equal time to the GarageWorks. I'm going to try some aluminum on the GarageWorks, only this time, instead of a spindle, it'll be that little DeWalt 611. So, yeah, we're going to do it. Welcome, Michael Murray. I see he snuck in the back door there. That's what happens when you leave the door open.
You never know who's coming in.
Oh,
it took me a little bit to.
He went out the back door. He didn't come in the back door. He went out the back door.
Yeah.
So, all right.
I had to bring my laptop out and make a couple trips. I only have one hand, so.
Yeah. Well, give us a quick update. We first give us a quick update on your surgery.
Well, I will get more in depth notification on Wednesday when I see him, but I thought they were going in just to remove the anchor that was loose, but once he was in there, he actually replaced the anchor and repaired a tear. So I don't know if it's the same tear, if it's a new tear, if it's a tear that the anchor caused because it was loose for the last 3 months. So I was kind of out of it when I was coming out of surgery. They just wanted to rush me out the door. So they're like, here, wake up and out the door.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. It's a little bit of pain, but, it kind of stinks that I have to go through it all over again.
Okay. What did you get some good drugs?
Well, I had Percocet and I'm having a little bit of white wine. So between the two of them, yeah, I'll sleep good tonight.
Okay. All right. Now, I'm glad you're doing well, Mike, but enough about you. Give us a McKenna update. That's
She's
who we really want to
doing
hear about.
Yeah, she's doing great. I'm actually going to put a video out tomorrow, giving it a full update on everything that went on with her and what's going on with me. But we're going next Monday, not Memorial Day, the following Monday, for her second to last treatment, chemo treatment. The last one will be the 24th. We'll have a 3-week window that we have to wait. Then we'll do a final evaluation. When that comes back good, we'll be on like a 3-month. I don't know how long the 3-month checkups go, but after a couple of the 3 months, we'll go on a year checkup, and then the year checkup she'll just do, once a year. She'll do all her tests for the rest of her life.
Mm-hmm.
So we're coming to the end of the hump. She's getting some hair coming back.
Yeah.
She's got to buzz my head again because she says my hair is growing too fast. So
Yeah. All right. Cool. That's great. All right. We'll. I guess I should probably, since we got quite a few folks over there in the chat, probably should do a little roll call. Javi, you want to do the honors tonight?
Sure, be happy to. Let's see here. We've got the following: Becca Miller, Charles Steed, Dave Matthews, Dave Mitchell, Don Milstead, Ed Newman, Frankie from Frankie CNC, Jeff Connor, Jim, just Jim, John Fisher, Kevin Calhoun, Landis Stutz, Larry Duggar, Larry Galt, Mike Haichu, Neil Shafto, Ron Godot, Jim Sinicola, William Hall, and of course Steve Atkins.
Okay. Yeah, I see we've got Jim.
Jim.
Welcome. Jim. I see a question. He says, "Is the Gatton CNC still available?" It's always available. I mean,
and Matt just popped in. Matt Haas.
Yeah, Mr. All Things YouTube. That's what I'm talking about. What does he say? I have a new CNC, new channel, CNC equal cool. Okay. Yeah.
Well, if it's not using a Gatton, it ain't cool.
Yeah.
and Steve Nealon just buzzed in.
Okay. Hello, Steve. Welcome. Yeah, I don't know, Jim. I don't know why he's asking the Gatton CNC is still available. They're always available. I'm cutting all the time. Cut some today, as a matter of fact. Yep. They'll be around as long as I'm still kicking, I guess. Maybe even after. I don't know. All right, let's talk laser stuff. We've a couple of weeks ago I did the show from out there in my shop, and I really want to do the show from out there, but it is like 90 something here. We're setting all kinds of records for record highs already.
Yep.
And it's going to be a doozy of a summer, I can tell. So I didn't have time today, but I will get my little window unit air conditioner out of the shop. I don't have it in the window right now. It's sitting on the floor, probably with about an inch of dust on it. So I'm going to take the air compressor, blow it out, and put it back in the window. And then I'll try to start doing some of these shows again from back out there, especially when we're talking about the laser. But I do have a lot of show and tell stuff. I was running a bunch of different samples. I'm going to do some screen sharing here in just a minute and show you some of the different posts. And there, you know, and again, I'm going from JTech, and I don't want people to think I'm, sponsored by JTech or something, because I'm certainly not. It's just that that's the laser that I have. And there's really not a whole lot of great choices out there that I can see for lasers. You know, I mentioned a couple of others. One of them was that Endurance company that I think was in Poland, and you buy the kit and it's where you solder stuff. I mean, it's basically a kit. You got to put it together yourself. And then there's that OPT lasers, and I think I want to say they're from Russia or somewhere. Yeah, you know, and they're quite a bit more expensive. So, yeah, so the JTech stuff, they're right here in the good old USA, over in Texas. Awesome support. So that's why I'm talking mainly about that kind of stuff. They're reasonably priced. You know, the 2.8 that I've bought, Michael Mertzke's bought, Michael Chipster's bought, Trevor Carter's bought. All kinds of people have bought the same little 2.8 watt laser that I have, and they work fantastic. But what we're going to talk about tonight is there's a lot of different ways to set them up. And I'm still learning some of this stuff myself. I thought I was really onto something the other day. I thought, man, I got this one post, I got it cooking with gas. And then I found out, I'm like, no, you idiot. It's not doing what I thought it was doing. So anyway, and you'll be able to see that in some of the samples I've done. But anyway, when you go to the JTech Photonic website, you can go to Mach 3 laser upgrades, and they basically show you they're basically talking about 4 different ways you can do it. One way is you can use the spindle to codes, the M codes, M3 and M4 to turn it on, and M5 to turn it off. You can also use the spindle and also add the PWM, which is the pulse wave modulation, so you can actually have control of the percent, the power of the laser. In other words, if you have it set up with that PWM and you put in your Vectric software or whatever software you program, you tell it the spindle speed at 50, that will represent 50% power when you're running it in Mach 3 using the PWM. So there's 2 ways. Another way is using the M11 P1. That is a code that will turn the laser on instantly with no delay. And then the M10 P1 also will turn the laser off instantly. And it's supposed to help cut down on the little laser dots that folks get sometimes. But here's the thing. You can put an F code for feed rate in a program, and you can use that M11P1. You can use that setup, and you can change speeds. Like, for example, if you want to cut part of it at 25 inches a minute, and you want to cut another part 35 inches a minute, you can do it. Every time it comes to a change in the feed rate or the F code, it will either speed up or slow down. But that's not having anything to do with the power of the laser. The power, when you're using the M11P1 and the M10 P1, with 1, by the way, that 1 on the end of that P is standing for the output. Um, it's basically an on or on thing. So it's like you don't really have control of the power like you do when you're running the spindle with the PWM function. Okay, so that's the third way. And then a fourth way is, I don't know what he's cooking. He said he might be cooking a pizza while we're doing the show.
No, I had to pop out to do some plumbing, to move a plumbing valve before it got before I couldn't see it.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So anyway, the fourth way, and this would be, I guess, for folks who, for some reason, don't want to create a different machine profile, but they're already using the M3 and M5 with their spindle, and so they don't want to mess with that, is you can use M7 and M8, which is turning on the mist or your coolant, basically. I think one of them's mist and one of them's flood. And then, of course, M9 will turn it off. So you can do it's kind of exactly like an M10 P1, except you're using M7 and M8 to turn it on and M9 to turn it off. But again, you don't have control over the power. The only way you can kind of get a different kind of burn is if it's burning too hot or burning too dark. You can speed up the feed rate, and that way it's not staying in one place as long, and it'll change a little bit that way. But these posts, I've been getting people wanting me to send them my posts and stuff. I still have on the website, the DaveGatton.com website. In fact, I'll tell you what, let me screen share. Let me get one open here first. Bear with me, folks, for a second. Okay, where is it? Okay, now let me come back here and screen share. Let me present myself first and screen share. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yep. Okay,
yeah, there's delay over there. Okay, right here on the same page, and by the way, Jim, if you're out there, whatever your last name is, here's where you go to get a Gatton CNC kit right here. But you'll notice right beside here is I have, where I'd uploaded the other week, my Mach 3 settings for the Gatton CNC router, and I also have the Mach 3 settings for the JTech laser. So if you want, and this is showing, this is just basically a bunch of screenshots, but this is going through showing every screenshot that you need to set this up. And I'm trying to see where the ones. Okay.
Hey Dave, quick question. When at your laser, you don't need to do any venting or anything, right?
No, I enjoy breathing the fumes, but no, I'm just kidding. No, I have, like I said, I haven't put my air conditioner out there in my shop, so I still have the door open. I got a little box fan out there blowing around, so it's not a big deal. It's not. It's just, and usually when I'm really burning something on wood, like when I'm doing the fretboards and stuff like that, I'm usually down at the other end of the shop anyway. So anyhow, I also have if somebody wants to download Dave's Mach 3 laser profile, you can click on that. If you want to use the one I've been using with the UC CNC software, you can click on that. I've made those available. Anyway, all that stuff is right there if you need to go look at it. But also, I wanted to come here because I've already downloaded a few of these posts from the JTech Photonic website. And Rob, I saw Rob Schuster out there. Rob, I don't know if you know it, but they have a Linux CNC post available up there. But this is, let's see if I can remember. Yeah, this one right here. Let's see if I can. We'll take a look at it. And this is the one that I modified a little bit. One, they have it with a dot tap. I'm used to seeing dot text, so I changed that, which isn't really a big deal. This one does not have the line numbers in it. It talks about the line numbers here, 0 and 10 and all that, but it doesn't have the end, the block numbers and stuff. And I'm so used to that. I like having the header. So I copied some of that stuff out of the regular Mach 3 post that came with Vectric software and did a little finagling here and modifying. But you can see that this post is one that uses, where is it here? Just saw it. Where'd it go? All right, it's using there M5, which would turn it off. Down here, there it is. Begin plunge move. It'll show an M3, and you see it also has an S there for the power setting, or which would be the spindle thing, and then you got M5. So this one uses the M3 and M5. And again, the one I use is heavily modified. It's got a lot of different things more than what this has. But it's not that hard to do if you want to modify it yourself. Another one is this one is the Mach 3 laser modified NoZ M11P1. And this one is another one. And of course, I modified this one too, because again, it's got the tap and it doesn't put the block numbers like I like. So I added all that. But this one, you can see it's using the M10P1 to turn it off and M11P1 to turn it on. But you can see there's an F there for the feed rate, but there's no S, because as I found out, even when you put it in there, it may change it on the Mach 3 screen, but it's still going wide open. It's either on or off. That's it, on or off. So now there is a way. I haven't got into it. I'll have to, maybe we'll do another show after I buy one. But that little DAC board, or it's a PIC convert board that they sell on the JTech site, you can use that in combination with this post, this M11P1, and use it to do images and stuff. And I'm not sure exactly how it works, but then there's a way to have a setting where you can adjust the power of that laser, kind of like the PWM. So like I said, I don't know that much about how it works because I don't have one. I've just read a little bit on it. And I got this one here too, this Stepcraft laser. And the only reason I got that is because of Stepcraft uses UC CNC. So this is actually the one I got when I went to modify it for the UC CNC software. Plus, you can also, with UC CNC, you can import your XML file from Mach 3, and it gets a lot of things. There's still, it doesn't get everything. So you got to make sure you go through every page and make sure that it's good there. Make sure it gets it all. But this is using, like, there's an M5. There's, where did I see it? This is an M10 there. So, but yeah, this one is similar, to what I use in UC CNC. Also, for you guys out there that are doing the Arduino Gerbil thing, I don't have any. I didn't download any of those, but there is a ton of posts that the JTech site has for pretty much any kind of CNC you've got. I see ones out there. He says, I think the M10 M11 is the same as multicam laser. Yeah, you're probably right. Okay, anyway, let's see. Is there any questions? I haven't been really paying attention over there, but I don't see any. All right, I don't. Okay, yeah, Andrew says it uses Z movement to drive power. Yeah, you have to set your Z for like 1,000ths in a couple of different places in the Vectric software so that it posts that, and then I think that PIC card or DAT card or whatever it's called uses that to change the PWM, kind of like. I will be doing more on that because I'm planning on getting one of those cards. In fact, I started to buy one yesterday, and then I thought, no, there's no sense me buying it because I don't have time to do anything with it right now. So I didn't buy it. Anyhow, let me get back out of here, and we'll take a look at where's that little button? There we go.
Keith is asking if anyone's V-carved and then lasered inside the V-carve to darken it. I have. It's really cool.
Yeah, and I want to mention too, as when I get ready to show you these samples, that, well, for one thing, the machine I have my laser on is my GarageWorks 4x4 that's out there in my shop. And I am currently using it just as a laser. I'm not swapping out a router or anything like that. I could. I still have a router out there that I could throw on it and have a mount. But I have not added this laser to the same machine profile in Mach 3 that I use for routing. I keep everything separate, and there might, like I said, there's a way if you wanted to, you could add it to your original profile, but I just don't see many folks trying to do, everything exactly at the same time. I don't really see a need for it. So
yeah, at the same time, it's not practical. And one thing you got to be very careful with when you do use a laser over the router thing, you better make sure you have you're looking at two different profiles. You're looking at two different instruments, whether it's the router or the thing. So it's not going to be exact. It's going to be off by maybe thousandths, maybe hundreds. It's going to be off. So what I would recommend if you do intend on doing something like that is leave a little tiny hairline buffer so there's a transition and you don't burn the clean part. You're only burning inside it, and it's enough of a transition where you can hide the mistakes, kind of like the baseboard or whatever.
Okay.
Suggestion. But paint's a lot easier and quicker.
Juan has a question. He says, came in a little late. Does the JTech connect to the Masso? again, I haven't done that, but yeah, I know it will. Anything will connect to the Masso. That thing will do it all. I've still got mine. Jat still sends me all the updates. And one day I'll get around to using that thing again. But for right now, I've got, 4 CNCs is enough, and I don't need to build another one right now. Wouldn't your laser driver need 2 connections to your breakout board, one for off and the other for the PWM? No, I mean, you're just using, on mine, I'm using P17 with output 1.
Yeah, Kevin, the it's an analog voltage, so the stronger the voltage in the range, the more it's on, and if there's 0 volts, it's off. So it's all one and the same pin.
Yeah. Yeah, Landis says I use the PIC laser deck card, which is that board we're talking about here, with C-axis as my control setup to 0 to 255 for full power of 4.7 volts. Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to try to cover every little, dot every I and cross every T, because it's all right there on the JTech site. I can remember when I first bought the laser, because I've had mine, I think, about 3 years or so. And some of the documentation was a little iffy because, it was new. He knew how to make lasers, but he didn't know how, he wasn't making the CNC. So it took a while for all this to, come together. And now you go on there and he's got stuff for X-Carve, Shapeokos, Axiom, you name it, it's on there. Except for my stuff. Of course, my stuff just uses the generic Mach 3 or UC-CNC or whatever you want to use. But, it's got the Arduino Gerbil type stuff. It's all up there. I would advise anybody's thinking about getting a laser, or even if you've got a laser and you're having, maybe having a little issue getting it going, the answer is probably up there on their website, because I didn't figure all this stuff out. That's where I got the information. The only thing I did was I played around with the post to get it exactly what I want to see, because I'm just used to the block. You guys may not want that. When you get one of them posts, you may run it just like it is. But I like having that header. I'm used to, using Vectric all these years. I'm used to loading the program and it says the program name, the blank size, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is at the top of the header, and where you can add notes and stuff. And so I like that. So I added it so that when I post a laser thing, that's what shows up. When you get them straight from them, it'll pop up, and the first code will be M10 P1. There's nothing up there. So, all right, let me do my little show and tell. I'm going to present myself, and I'm just going to hold these up here. I was thought about taking pictures of this stuff, and I went to take pictures, and it seemed like I couldn't get a picture without a glare. So I came in here and held them up, and before I went live, and I thought, yeah, I think you can see them good enough there. But this first sample, and all this is on cardboard samples here, but this first one is using all 3 different posts. And when I say 3 different posts, I also mean 3 different machine profiles, because every time, I have a machine profile for my laser when I want to use the post that uses M3, M5s. I have a machine profile when I want to use the laser post that uses M11, P1. I have a machine profile for the one that uses M7, M9. So I would load the right machine profile, go get the program that has that post, and then just did these little samples. So without further delay, let me hold this up here. If I can hold it still. So at the top, you see that the first two lines, the laser test, and then I had it laser what it actually is. So that's the using the post processor M3 to turn it on, M5 to turn it off. It's at 20 inches per minute, and the S is at 50%, which means that's the one I'm using, the PWM. Okay, the one in the middle says laser test, and it's the M11 P1 to turn it on, the M10 P1 to turn it off. And again, the feed rate was set at 20 inches a minute. However, like I mentioned, it's all on or all off. So there's no, so basically that power would be pretty much at 100% or whatever, however much it's turned up on my board. And again, the bottom one is using M7 to turn it on, M9 to turn it off, again at 20 inches a minute. So these are all the same speed as far as the movement of the machine. And if you look close, I think you can probably see it good enough in there that the top one, it looks a little more detailed, a little finer line. And again, the other two look pretty much the same, which they pretty much are the same because, again, both the M7 and M9 deal and the M11 and M10 deal, it's either all or nothing. So it's either on or it's off. So those, and since they were the same speed, they look pretty much identical, but that you notice that they look a little darker, the lines are a little thicker, and I don't know if you can tell it, but to me, what few dots you see, they're a little more prevalent, I think, in both of those than they are in the top one. I don't know. Anybody got any questions on that one? All right, I'll just keep going on it. Javi, if anybody's got a question, just interrupt me. Okay,
You got it.
Dave, does the Z go up and down, or is like the Z set to a certain height?
The Z was set at 3 inches, or I just used my little measuring tape and measured, got my focus at about 3 inches, and it never moves. There's no Z movement at all in any of these posts.
Now, would that have a determination on how much actual power, even though you set it at 50?
Yes.
If you make it lower, closer to the the stock, it would be stronger, right? Or
well, it'd be out of focus then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, basically the laser goes through a lens, and there's an exact focal length depending on each lens. And so think of it like an X, basically, and at one point is the strongest point, and then it starts to go away from that point. You're looking at most lasers anywhere between an eighth of an inch all the way up to maybe half an inch of effectiveness, and it severely, and then after that it's so unfocused that it's not burning anything.
So,
okay.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, Mike. But for all of these samples I'm showing you, the focus was exactly the same. The Z never moved on anything. It was set before I started these little tests, and it just stayed right there. So anyway, there's really all of these don't look too bad. It's just that, I think the top one looks a little better, especially seeing it in person. It's a little finer line, a little finer detail. And to me, the dots are less noticeable on that one than the other two. Okay, but these are all at 20 inches per minute, all basically the same machine speed. So then I thought, well, let me try some different settings. So this one is what I did is I just decided I would increase everything 50%. Well, of course, only the top one can I increase the power 50%. So it went from, I went from 20 inches a minute to 30 inches a minute, and then went from 50% power to 75% power. And again, you can see you get some really good detail with that. It's going a little faster as far as the machine moving, but because it's got a little more power now, it looks basically the same as the one on this other side that was 20 inches a minute and 50 inches a minute. Looks a lot, and I've got another sample where you can see them right next to one another here in a minute. Okay, next two, again, these are both pretty much the same because it's all or nothing. It's on or off. And so the 30 inches a minute, may make it seem a little bit lighter compared to the other side, simply because it's moving across a little faster and it's not staying in one spot. Again, though, I noticed that the dots, which all of them have a few dots, it seems, but they seem much more noticeable in the bottom two, using the, whether it's either on all or nothing type of thing. Okay, so there's that one. Now, I got these all numbered here so I can remember what I'm doing here. Okay, so now I did this one, and this is using just the M3 post, which is the one that uses the PWM. And I wanted to show, or try to show, what the difference is. Let me lock this on me. I forgot to do this. Okay. We're trying to show what the difference is as you speed it up, but keep increasing the power. So again, this first one is just like that very first one I showed. It's 20 inches a minute with a 50% power. It's got great detail. Looks really good. The second one is going faster. It's going 30 inches a minute, and now it's going 75. But since I did them here on the same, you can see them right beside each other. And then, of course, the bottom one went to full power at 100%, and at 50 inches a minute. Well, I can tell you, when you're running this at 50 inches a minute, and it's trying to go around some of these tight places right here, a lot of times it's not really it never gets a chance to get up to 50. So even though it was set there, and actually, again, out of these three, I don't know if it's showing up, y'all are watching or not, but to me, I can see more dots on this bottom one where I was trying to run it faster at 100% than I can on the other two, where I'm running it at 50% and 75%, and running it a little bit slower. So keep in mind, folks, faster isn't always better. Just like bigger is not always better. So there's that one. Okay, now I went back to the M11 P1, and again, I don't have any control over the power because this is an on or off type of deal. But you could see the difference. Maybe you can see the difference just by speeding it up. And in this case, it seems to get better the faster you go. Except one thing about when you start getting to a point, and I don't know if you can, let's see, maybe it wasn't this one, but I've noticed that when you start trying to speed it up, you get to a point where you run into a problem where it starts, how this Batman Forever font here that I use. Always has nice crisp angles, you know. So when you're running that and you're trying to go too fast and you don't have your constant velocity settings correct, it'll start rounding those things off. You'll start getting some radii where you should have a nice corner, sharp corner. And of course, the problem is if you change your constant velocity settings so that it slows down to do that, then you start noticing the dots because now it's slowing down to go around that tight corner. So it's
Dave, I've got a couple of questions. Are those samples vector or raster images that you have there?
okay. So far, all of these are, well, so far, every one I've done, this is vector, but it's also text. I haven't converted it to curves. I did do that. I have that coming up in one of the other ones, just so you can compare it. But all of these are typing in the text and leaving in this text, not going to change it.
So is it printing it as a raster, even though it's a vector image?
No,
it's not scanning back and forth. It's actually drawing the
right. It's doing it's a vector. It's doing. That's why you'll see the little dots,
right,
where it stops and starts.
Gotcha. The other question I have is on the JTech laser, rather on your profile, when you're printing raster, do you have an option of unidirectional or bidirectional?
Well, I had somebody send me a message a little while ago wanting to know if I could talk about that laser engrave. But see, that's not with Mach 3. That's with the CNC software, that plugin that came. The one that comes with Mach 3 only works if you're using parallel thing, old thing. So I haven't even been able to test that. But to your question, if I'm, when I'm doing that raster printing or laser engraving in UC 100, you can tell it which way you want to go.
Okay, yeah, because I've found, at least with on some certain jobs, it happens more with printing than with lasers. It depends on the quality of your the laser too. The start and stop on bidirectional prints, if you don't have it perfectly calibrated, it's off, and then you get like people experience the zigzaggy lines depending on which direction the head was moving.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna get this one. This is the one I was just holding up, and then I'm gonna hold this other one up beside it, and it's basically the same thing except on this one I changed the text to curves to see. Now I can't see what I'm looking at here. Let me kind of peek through here. But I don't see any real noticeable difference. That's the one where it was converted to curves. That's the one where it's still text. And I personally, when I do stuff, if I can get it to look halfway decent as text, I like to leave it text because that way you can come back in and edit it real easy.
Yeah.
But one thing you might notice, let me see if I can hold this up here. But if you look at let me see if I can find a good spot. I keep looking right here at this L. If you look at some of the ones up here where it's running slower, and you look down here where it's running faster, you can see where it's starting to round it in a few places instead of keeping a nice sharp corner. Maybe not on that. Maybe it was more on this one. I was seeing someplace like around that where the T is. It's it seems like it's starting to. I mean, it's not bad, but it's still not.
Well, you can tweak those settings in Mach 3, can't you?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. As far as the constant velocity, you can. But what I was saying though is, if you get it set to where it's really keeping, especially on the one where you're not using the PWM, now it's slowing down, but it's still at wide open power, so it's
right.
yeah, you're going to leave some dots and stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
that's all the tests, and this is just some stuff I was playing around with, just to give you an example. This is the Lord's Prayer that I printed out, and this was using, if I can hold this up here, a little different kind of text. I don't know if you can really see it good enough.
Yeah, it looks like calligraphy.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the font that I used, but this is using.
Might even New York Italic.
This is using the post where I have the PWM, and I'm trying to remember what I ran this at. I think I ran it at 20 inches a minute, 50% power. And that came out pretty good. Now, by comparison, this is run using that M10. Let's see what I got here. I wrote something on the back. Yeah, this is still 20 inches a minute, but this is using the M10. So, of course, that's now full power. And you can see where, like right there, you can see a bunch of places where it's like on B's and D's and stuff like that. It's actually cutting so much that it's popping the cardboard through there.
Yeah.
So this didn't come out very well at all using that.
Did it go all the way through? What's the back look like?
Well, no, it didn't really cut all the way through, but you know how the cardboard is corrugated.
Yeah.
It cut through that first layer. But again, using the using less power, I don't know if you can see this good enough to do it justice, but that came out really nice.
Yeah.
So
the thing is, I mean, I'm impressed by I'm really impressed by that laser, as inexpensive as it is or as low wattage as it is, to be able to produce that on cardboard, because I have seen some even professional lasers. If you're and this is also a credit to your machine, but if the piece is not completely flat, you can notice, even, I mean, with an 1/8 of an inch difference, or even a 1/16 of an inch, you can notice, you know, how one side is darker than the other. And it's been, every one of those samples have been very, aside from the dots, have been very consistent throughout the entire cardboard, and that's not a small piece either.
yeah. Well, I got to tell you, Javi, and that's why, you know, like I said, you know, said up front, you know, J-Tech is not a sponsor of mine, or they probably don't even know who I am for that matter. But every time I use that thing, I'm impressed that little 2.8 watt laser.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't do anything super fast, but like the stuff I do on those fretboards and
now
all of
these were printed.
These boxes I did back here. Well, you can't see them because they're out of focus, but all of these little boxes I did for these guitars, putting graphics on them. I mean, that thing is just.
Were they
up so many doors or whatever I can think of to put on it, I can do it.
Was the cardboard printed with the Gatton or with the GarageWorks?
The GarageWorks.
Yeah,
yeah, my laser's out there. I think that's. I can't remember if I had that out there when you were here last or not. But I have. You know, I used to have the old metal Sidewinder out there.
I mean, that's something to be said for the. I mean, we all know it, and we're all fans. So this is just blowing smoke. But it's a credit to the flatness of that Garage Works, because, like I said, the smallest change in elevation on a laser will give you the most noticeable difference in lightness and darkness. So not only is the laser pretty well tuned, it's that machine is pretty flat, consistent throughout.
Yeah, and these are just all these little cardboard pieces. You know, I get whenever I pick up my Garage Works parts from the powder coaters, they have pieces of cardboard in between all the layers of the parts, and you know, all that stuff, so they won't get scratched. So I have a gazillion pieces of 4 foot by 40-inch piece of cardboard out there in my garage. So I took them around to my table saw and just cut. I was using these to ship something, stick them in there to help stiffen up something. I can't remember what I was doing, but anyway, I had a bunch of these, and I thought, and so when we're using these for the test, I'm just, you know, of course, that's the other nice thing about the laser. You don't have to clamp anything as long as you don't touch it and bump it and move it. You just set it down and hit the button, and it does it, you know, and you don't have to clamp anything down. Andrew says the M10 M11 is supposed to allow you to change power without the axis stopping as it moves. Still hadn't cracked that yet. Yeah, I think, now are you talking about with one of those boards? Jack's trying to photobomb here. Because I don't think you're going to, you know, like I said, I was thinking I'd crack the magical code by figuring out how, because I'm thinking, well, that's why it won't change, because it doesn't put an S thing in there. And I'm like, I put it in there, and you look on the screen, and it doesn't matter whether you have 5%, 100%. It'll change on the Mach 3 screen because it reads that S thing. But if you're not running PWM, which you're not when you're using the M10 P1 stuff, it's not changing that power. It's on and off. That's all it is, just an on and off. Unless you've got it connected to one of those board things, which I'm going to get me one of those, because I still, like I said, I had somebody ask before the show about trying to show that how to do that image, the laser engraved plug-in that comes with UC CNC, and I know he's still having trouble getting it to work. I have, and again, that's why on the website I have, because you got to remember, folks, on all this stuff, it's not just a post, but I have machine profiles set up to work with that post. So you can't, you know, you got to have all your ducks lined up. You got to have the right post, you know, the program posted with the right post, and then make sure you load the right machine profile that's set up to work with the codes that post creates. So, you know, like I said, if you don't have your PWM set up, and then you post with that one that's doing that, it's not going to work right. So I've created, you know, a post or a machine profile to go along with each of the different posts that I use. But I'll be doing some more, especially once I get the AC out there in the shop going, where I can do shows from out there. I do want to do some more with that laser engraved plug-in that comes with UC CNC. Once I get one of these boards, the pick converter, whatever that thing, DAC board, I've heard it called 2 or 3 different things. That's why I want to get that, because, you know, it's supposed to help you do images with and work the PWM with that M10 P1 code. So I'll have to do that. Another neat thing about the using the M3 and M5 where you're using the PWM. And I probably mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. You can go, I've been going to MDI and just typing MO3 S5. And it's going to, the MO3 is going to turn the laser on, and it's going to be at 5% power. Well, 5% power is just, it's barely on. It's enough to where you can see it. And that works perfect because now you can jog it around to center it where you want to start, whether lower left or center the material or wherever you want. You can line it up pretty much dead nuts, but because you can see the beam. And it won't burn anything. I mean, it might if you left it sitting in one spot for 5 minutes or something, but for the time that you're moving it around and getting it set up, it doesn't even leave a little tiny dot like it would if you turn it on at full power or whatever, or 50% power or whatever. So I've been doing that, but there's also another thing you can do is on the Mach 3 screen, the main program page, you can go down to the lower right, and I'm talking people that have the default screen. I use the default screen. On the lower right where the spindle is, and you can just take your mouse, or if you got a touch screen, you can just push right, touch it right where it says spindle speed, and you can hit 5, and then you can just hit the spindle on button, and it'll do the same thing. Now you've just turned the spindle on, or the laser, at 5% power, so you got that little bitty beam and you can jog it around. That method works even better to me because for some reason when you're in the MDI screen, you can't jog the machine. You have to go to MDI, turn the laser on, then go back to the program page to be able to jog. Whereas if you're already on that page and you just punch in 5, turn the spindle on, you're already there, then you can jog to set it up. So that method works even better. So do we have any questions at all out there? Man, we've covered a lot of stuff, and I see some folks talking, but I don't really see any questions out there, I don't think.
No questions.
What's the highest wattage that they sell?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's do. Let me
Who is they?
Well, whatever laser that Dave has. Do they sell like different levels?
Present, and I'm going to come back over here.
Those small ones usually go and be between the 2 and the 10 range, and 10 is pushing it. And then you're looking at starting at 30, 20, and 30 watt. You're looking at CO2 lasers.
Okay,
and then past 100 watt is a whole different animal.
Here I am at the JTech Photonic website, and this is what I was talking about. He's got instructions for, I mean, look at all these: ShopBot, Shapeoko, Axiom, just a generic Mach 3, CNC Shark, Stepcraft, X-Carve, Open Builds. I mean, there are a ton of them out here. But if you come over here, like for example, for a Gatton CNC or a GarageWorks CNC, you would go to where it says CNC laser upgrades. You would come down here to Mach 3 laser upgrade. Click on that. And this is where I'm getting all my information, folks, right here. Like I said, it's nothing, it's nothing I'm dreaming up. This is just where I'm getting all the information. This is where it talks about, you can use spindle or coolant. If it's spindle, it's M3, M4, and M5. If it's coolant, it's M7, M8, and M9. Here they show you how to do it the simple way, to using the spindle to just turn it on and off, which, again, that's cool, but it's nicer to have the PWM. And here they show you what you have to do. You have to make sure that you're you don't have the spindle relays disabled. You need your output to be for whatever you've got it set up as. Here they're showing 1. You need to change these to where there's absolutely no delay at all in these parameters here. And that's how it's going to work. It says laser on. It's going to be M3 or M4, which M3 is turn spindle on clockwise. M4 is turn the laser on or spindle on counterclockwise. So that's why both of those turn the laser on. And then, of course, turn the laser off is M5. If you want to use the coolant as the laser, you can, basically your output signals will be pretty much the same, but now you're going to have an M7 or an M8 to turn it on, which is, like I said, I believe this is turn on the mist, and I think this is turn on flood, or maybe it's vice versa. I can't remember. Disable flood. Yeah, one of them's flood and one of them's mist. And then M9 to turn it off. And then right here is where I use my setup. And again, they're showing, the only thing different about mine than the way they're doing is they're showing pretty much, let's see where that picture was. They're assuming you're using a computer with an old parallel port. Well, since I'm using a UC100 motion controller, mine, instead of 25,000 hertz, mine is going to be 100 kilohertz right here. This looks pretty much the same as mine. I do have 1,000 in there instead of the 250 that they have, but I have both of those checked. Once you check that spindle motor output, this is already enabled, and then you just need to set the pin in the port. I have this pulley number from 0 to 100, which means pretty much 100 is 100%. Anything under that is just the percentage. Here it says M3S100 means laser on at full power. M3S50, laser on at 50% power, so on and so forth. So that's how I use mine. Now here's that little board that they talk about. It's a solution to possible delay in Mach 3 using M5 and M3 and M5 commands. And they're saying M11P hashtag with that be or numbers or whatever you want to call it, pound, whatever they call it these days. Turn on the output of the lasers on, where pound is the number of the output. So I've been using 1, so that's why I keep saying M10P1. So that, like I said, they're showing every possible combination of how to do it. And then if you want to find those posts, the ones that I showed earlier, where were they? Right there. I'd already downloaded for the show. You find those right down here. Go to software and come down to where it says Vectric Laser Post Processor. And you will see that they have a ton of them. They got for a Gerbil, X-Carve, Shapeoko 3, blah, blah, blah. Have an inch version and a metric version. A no Z version, where if you're not going to use the Z movement for Gerbil, they have an inch in them. I mean, they just got it all here. Here's the one I got. I got this one right here, is the Mach 3 inch version. Here's one. The other one I got was for the M11P1 and M10. They have that. They have anybody using Mach 4, they got it for that right there. This is the one I got for the Stepcraft, like I said, because or actually I got this one here, the Stepcraft UC CNC. I was looking at it because, Stepcraft uses UC CNC software, and I have that as well. Javi, there's a Win PC, isn't that what Cam Master run? Well, they have a Cam Master down here.
Win CNC.
Well, they have one down here for a Cam Master inch version also down here.
Oh.
But I mean, there's all kinds of posts, there's all kinds of documentation. Just for giggles here, if I clicked on Let's pick something different. Well, we'll go to that step crap just for since I done that earlier.
I don't see a lowrider one.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. All right. So here's here's the directions where they're going to show you how to do the settings. Pin 13 laser. So see, they show you how to set all this stuff up. If you take the time to read it, I guarantee you the information is there. You just got to take the time to read it. So anyhow, I know we're coming up on, yeah, we're just over an hour here. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Laser stuff, aluminum stuff.
Well, here's a fun fact for you. The originator, the inventor of aluminum, originally called it alumium. That's Alumium. Alumium. Later changing the name to aluminium, and then later changing it to aluminum. So either he doesn't know how to spell, or there are multiple versions of the spelling. Most of England uses aluminium, which is a completely different spelling. It's not just a pronunciation.
Yeah, they've got like an extra I or something. Well,
got an extra I.
You know, it's not.
Yeah, they've got.
We can't spell it.
Yeah, and in truth, they're both are wrong. Well, actually, I don't know. Nothing against the British, but you're either gonna go logically with the original one, which is really alumium with no N's in. No M's in it. No N's in it whatsoever. Or with the latest one, which is aluminum.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, before we sign off here, since we're on the aluminum topic here,
or you know,
I want to see a show of the folks over in the chat. How many of you have cut aluminum, and also put what kind of machine you got? If you know, whether it's a Gatton Garage Works or other. Let's see if anybody's.
I've cut aluminum multiple times. I've cut brass, and I don't know if there's a material I haven't cut. Now with the Gatton, I've only cut wood, so I have to.
That's Gary Brady, I think. He says not yet. I've never seen anybody post pictures in a Facebook group, or at least I don't believe I have. In either Facebook group, the Garage Works or the Gatton.
So that is a challenge for all you Gatton and Garage Works users.
Okay, Andrew says yes, aluminum on both Gatton and his ox build, also brass. Kevin, okay, I guess a few of them have Gatton and shoestring. Okay. If you watch this video, one of the first things I say in the video is that really pretty much any CNC machine is going to cut aluminum.
Does an aluminum hold down count as cutting aluminum?
Yeah, that's true.
That's not exactly something that lasts for more than a few seconds.
Sliced right through it.
Yeah.
I love those.
No, anyway, what I was saying is, I've cut. I should have drug that part out here. It's in the closet right there. But I've cut 3/8 aluminum back when I had my little, not the plywood, some people call the plywood sidewinder. To me, there's never been a plywood sidewinder. It's always been that metal one. But and back when I cut that stuff, it was, a Porter Cable 690, which there's no RPM control. It's just wide open, which I think on a 690, I think is 27,000 RPM or something like that. So it's all, it's kind of the same way you eat an elephant. It's like one little bite at a time. That's how you cut aluminum.
One thing that turns out really nice is when you have either a very white or a solid color granite or marble or something like that. Use a diamond cutting bit and cut relatively small. And for the black, anything like a black granite or a dark black, just the cut alone will make it white, so that'll stand out. But if you want the other colors to stand out, take wax crayons or even paint and just wipe off the top carefully. The wax colors work much better. They have special materials. I used to be a sign maker. They have special materials that are like those furniture fills furniture crayons that you use to repair furniture, similar to that. And I'll tell you, it looks fantastic when you have a little tombstone or a sign or something out of granite or something with whether it's words or designs, nice and thinly cut, and not hard to do.
Well, I'm surprised more people have cut aluminum than I would have thought. Then I guess they just don't post pictures when they cut aluminum. I don't know, but I had to. I'd made this, by the way, is a router base for it'll fit the DeWalt 611 or a Porter Cable 450. But I got ready to use that as I have a little Porter Cable 450 that I use as my little hand router, and I was putting a roundover bit. Well, the roundover bit was so big that it wouldn't fit through the plastic base that came with it. So I had to stop and come in here and draw one, and it's basically exactly like this, except this one's got a much bigger hole in the center.
You could.
So I did it out of MDF, and that's what I've still got on there. But then I got to thinking, you know what? I get not very often, but every once in a while you get somebody who says, "Hey, will that thing cut aluminum?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, they all will." But I thought, well, let me just do a video and show that it will cut aluminum and cut it pretty dang nice.
It'll cut it very precisely. I mean, you can go as far as putting a lip, and with a dovetail bit, put some you could cut yourself some different inserts for the middle of it, if you so choose.
Yeah. But anyway, so now I'm going to come up with something. If anybody's got an idea for something they want me to cut out of aluminum, put it in the comments or something. Don't put it in the chat because I won't be looking at that much later. Or post
How about an aluminum toilet flange? I don't know, that router base for some reason reminded me of it.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you mention that because I've had to work on not my toilet, but Barbara's toilet. She's had something going on, and those builders they use like a plastic freaking
yeah.
And so anyway, I had to kind of jury rig something to go with that. So yeah, but you're right. That does it's a little smaller, but it does kind of look like a flange.
That's for
But
people that
I was thinking
vegetarians.
I might try to do a little gear and possibly maybe possibly some kind of little, a little piece of rack that's would mesh with that gear. So I don't know. Larry Duggar says, "How about an aluminum Gatton?" You never know. I could never cut them out fast enough to make any money doing. I'd have to sell them for $1 million.
But I got to tell you, that might be a fun project, just to make yourself like a half-size Gatton CNC, where instead of using NEMA 23s, it'll use NEMA 17s, and either a Dremel tool or even a DeWalt 611. That might be an interesting project.
Yeah, yeah. And plus, if you had it where you had your own little rack and pinion parts, it would go pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, I don't know, but I'm gonna make something. I'll shoot a video showing the Gatton CNC cutting aluminum, just so people can see that it will cut aluminum. Like I said, it pretty much anything will. If you just can't go. It's a CNC router. It's not a mill, so it's not made to take the bigger cuts of the mill might. But if you got the time and a little smart programming, you can pretty much make anything out of aluminum or other materials, for that matter, too. All right, I guess we're going to get out of here. I've rambled on enough. I don't see any questions. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. I hope y'all aren't getting sick of this laser stuff. I wouldn't keep talking about it if I wasn't getting questions. And if Charles is still out there. Charles, I promise I'm going to get to showing that laser engrave. Maybe I'll just do a video of it or something, instead of trying to do a show on it. I don't know, but anyway, I'll try to do that. I have not even fooled with that laser engrave plug-in for UC-CNC since I did that show, which is like 2 or 3 weeks ago now. I've been busy and the cat covering up stuff.
And thank you for Becca to remind us to raise a flag on Monday.
Mine's flying right now.
I'm not home.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we're going to get out of here. I'm glad Becca mentioned that, this is the start of Memorial weekend. So everybody, try to remember what it's all about. It's not necessarily about going to the beach and the lake and barbecue and all that stuff. We need to remember our fallen people that didn't get to come back home. So anyhow, we're gonna get off of here, I guess. I don't see any more questions. Everybody have a great weekend. Be safe out there. Don't do anything stupid.
No promises.
It seems like you always hear about these crazy boating accidents and stuff, or at least down here in Georgia. We got a couple of big lakes and people get out on the boat and get to drinking and stuff. And there's always a search and recovery thing going on Tuesday after Memorial Day. So anyhow, y'all be safe. Andrew says wear goggles. Oh, that's another thing. I'm glad. I'm gonna say that too, since he said that. When you're messing with aluminum, you definitely want to have at least safety glasses, if not a goggles or
closure.
Because if you're running it with a router that's blowing that air down through there, it will blow them, and it's little tiny you know, you're taking 15, 20 thou pass, and it's cutting into little tiny shiny metal shavings.
Little type shiny knives.
Yeah,
Piercing your eyes.
yeah.
A lot different than irritating sawdust.
Yeah, it's way different. So if you do get ready to cutting aluminum, make sure you definitely have some eye protection, especially if you're using a router where it's blowing that stuff.
And all the way eye protection, not just glasses, because those things have a way of bouncing in and ricocheting right into the eyeball. Guaranteed.
I showed in the video, but when I cut this, I didn't have. Of course, I'm using my spindle, so there's no air blowing down through the spindle. I didn't even have any air, you know, a little hose with a nozzle from a compressor. A lot of guys do that. I didn't do that. I didn't use any lube, any coolant, you know, WD-40, any of that kind of stuff. It's all just a bit and aluminum. That's all I did. I didn't want to try. I've seen guys spray, you know, WD-40 or cutting fluid or something like that on there. Yeah. But since I have MDF on my table, I wasn't going to do that. And I've cut it like this, cut it dry without anything before. So again, you just have to make sure you could probably go a little faster or stuff. You had some air blowing on it and stuff like that. But I didn't want to fool with any of that. All right, we're out of here. Everybody have a great weekend. Mike, thanks for joining me from your backyard or
anytime.
He's out there in the dark.
I got some fire pits burning.
All right, sweet. Fireside chat with Mike Murray.
That's it.
And Javi, thank you for joining me live from the homestead there.
Yep, the 5 acres, and I too have quite a few trees that Stump Island is gone. It's some major trunks are smoldering right now. Not a nice bright light like Mike over there, but it'll be glowing embers for the next 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. Well, just don't burn anything down that's not supposed to be. All right. Now, here we get ready to sign off. We get a question. Where to get the best complete laser setup? Go to JTech Photonics website and look there. That's all I can tell you. All right. We're out of here. Everybody have a great weekend. Stay safe. And we'll see y'all, I guess, probably, let's see. Yeah, next week. Probably one more Saturday, and then I won't be doing one on the 8th because I'm doing a Cigar Box Guitar Festival near Greensboro, North Carolina. It's the Grove Winery or something like that is where the festival is. So if you're in that area, come by and say hello. So, all righty, we're out. Everybody have a good one. Good night, everybody.
Good night, all.